Ready?
I think we've. Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Vice Press Open Channel, where we get together to talk about the things we've made, seen, and done. I'm Florey. That's James Henshaw.
Howdy.
And there's just the two of us. It's just two strapping young lads here to chit-chat about whatever takes our fancy. We're going to talk spoiler-free Deadpool and Twisters. That's our big topic. And then just a few other bits and bobs. So one of us has seen each of those films, hence the spoiler-free part. So you'll for once in your lives, you'll be able to listen to a podcast without having to go like blah, 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 with your fingers in your ears every now and then, because we don't have Matt.
And we are the
just a
two
big
that are
fan
conscious about not spoiling a film, or at least giving people prior warning if we're going to sponsor spoiler a film,
or at least sticking to whatever we've just said we were going to do as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. While he gallivants
James,
on holiday.
Yes. The big film of the moment, or 2 weeks ago, Twisters. You've seen it? How was it?
I have. Yeah, it's decent.
He's doing this to annoy me because every fucking movie that comes out is just it's decent. So like, to me, decent is a 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
like,
I'd say that's fair. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
So right. Okay.
Really good then.
I actually really did enjoy it. I think with this whole legacy sequel thing that's been happening over the past couple of years, we've had some real kind of peaks and troughs, right? And I think this Twisters film has some of the best bits of those kind of legacy bits, but it also has some of the worst bits as well.
Oh.
Me and my wife, we went the other night after I got back from the golf tournament I was at last week, which is why we didn't record last week. And we both kind of just wanted to go and have a fun time. And for better or worse, it is it's not a remake, but it's just Twister 2.0, which if you're of a certain
that's exactly what you want, though, right?
It is. Well, kind of, yeah. It's so Twister, when I was growing up, we spoke about this about loads of films. Twister was one of those films that was just everywhere. It was omnipresent. I remember going to see it at the cinema. We had it on VHS. I probably watched it at least once a week. Absolutely loved it.
Do you have any other films like that? Because mine are Speed, Independence Day, and probably Twister's Dante's Peak.
Yeah.
There's just like a whole ilk there, isn't there?
There was an era, right, where I think. So I'm going to say some of it. So I said yes because I had those, but those weren't the ones that sprung to mind. But they were, and you'll probably do the same here. For us, it was Dumb and Dumber, The Mask. Terminator 2.
Just a Jim Carrey household.
Yeah. Like, I had a real thing. I really liked Jim Carrey. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective as well. They were kind of when they were his big three. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. The Nutty Professor.
Oh, no, now
was one as well.
We're falling down now.
Yeah. But yeah, same. Independence Day, Terminator 2. I got Terminator 2 on video when that came out, and what was that, 15? I think I'd have been 8, something. That was in an era. I also got Aliens on video when I was, I don't know, 9, something like that.
Jeez, if only you could buy a double VHS of Terminator 2 again, hey?
If only. a silver VHS of Terminator 2. Yeah, there was but then back then, we've spoken about it on the pod and we've spoken about it ourselves. There was like an era where physical media and having videos, because they were quite expensive, I think you had a few, like you probably had 10, so you played those over and over again. But then your mates or your cousins or whatever, they had a chunk as well, so you'd kind of borrow those and they'd get played. So they became in. And I remember, like, my sisters were really into Free Willy, and I fucking
we had it on
VHS.
Film. We had it. It was one of theirs.
Oh, you know, a film that isn't talked about enough that I, again, probably watched. I would say I've watched it as many times as I've watched Ghostbusters is Look Who's
Whoa.
Talking.
Okay. I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago out in the real world, and it's just like, what an idea. They actually made that movie, and they made it 3 friggin' times as well.
They did, because it was the baby, then it was the baby and a sister, and then it was the dogs, wasn't it?
The dogs, yeah. Look Who's Talking now.
They were filmed anyway. Twisters, but yeah, it's got right. So when we came out, so I had a blast, and it was really good fun, and it was great. It's like one of those films that is like what's been made recently. You've got Roadhouse, Beverly Hills Cop. Twisters is more in line with those.
Top Gun?
Would say more. Well, no, I would say Top Gun's probably a bit more elevated. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of probably a little bit more elevated. Top Gun. But it is carried. This film is carried, as is the original. When you look back on it, by the cast.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of there's the cast and the shit that happens. The story is meaningless. Mm-hmm. The kind of set pieces getting to and from is just kind of a carbon copy. Things happening. You can tell a mile off what's going to happen, but it's having fun. There's some really good fake outs that they do as well. They're really good at that. Like Nat gets quite tense and a bit like anxious about when stuff's happening. And at the end, I said, "Did you enjoy it?" And she was like, "Yeah, kind of," but she was very anxious. That film is carried by Glenn Powell. I can't remember the actor's his co-actor's name.
She's one of those. She's a Daisy Ridley, Dakota Johnson type. I can't think of Edgar.
Daisy Edgar Jones.
I think that's it.
Edgar Wright.
I think that's it's Edgar Wright. Just moping around with his mop of black hair.
She's very good. She's playing it dead straight and kind of delivering all of this exposition. Oh man, the exposition in it is wild. It's properly like it's got to be knowingly wild, because it is that obvious that it's kind of, and the guy that's made it is a auteur. It's kind of bonkers, and I think they do it deliberately to kind of give that sense of it being a 90s throwback. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the kid from the Transformers film, who I also can't remember the name of.
Yeah.
And he's very good as well. But Glenn Powell is the savior of cinema, I think. That guy, he kind of comes into the film as this redneck, kind of blasting his horns, and he's got this podcast, and you kind of think this guy's a jerk. They kind of invert it a little bit with the rednecks and the corporate crew from the first one. She's on the corporate crew, he's the redneck. They have a little kind of fun twist on that, but then he's kind of got layers to him, because of course he's got layers to him. But I'm not going to spoil it because it is hilarious. I nearly wet my pants laughing. There is one of the funniest scenes I've seen in the cinema in this year with Glenn Powell and his character's mum. And it kind of just when you think he's kind of, redeeming himself, and he's kind of pulling away from, there's more to him than this podcast YouTube celebrity. He does something that properly drags him back into that. And it's funny, man. It's just such a small moment. But that guy, he could just put him in any film. Just put him in any film.
What's he got? Because he's got the Running Man, right? He is
Backdraft,
the titular Running Man. Backdraft.
Yeah.
Is he going to do any movies that aren't either remakes or sequels? Like
what?
I suppose he was in that terrible. Oh yeah, I suppose he was in that terrible rom-com thing as well, right?
Yeah, have you watched that though? Because everybody that I've seen that's watched it said it's hilarious.
I can't fucking watch that because it's set in Australia and they've made every single character go, "How are ya? Yeah, oh yeah." They all sound like Chris Hemsworth in bloody, like it's just so. It's that classic American oh, hang on, you guys don't sound Australian enough for Australians, so can you just like bung it on a bit? And we're gonna all say shrimp on the barbie and like, hey, put your budgie smugglers on cobber. Like, no,
Got a bogan you
I
up.
wouldn't make it through. I don't think. I saw a clip online and I was just like, no, this ain't for me. Even if it wasn't like that, I think it's just not my sort of thing. But
yeah,
you know.
I think it's going to be one of them that's a Sunday afternoon when we're on the sofa and we've got bog all else to do. We kind of reluctantly agree that we're going to watch a film.
Yeah, right.
It'll be one of those ones. But yeah, no, he seems to be the Daily Planet guys brought this up on the other episode. Is there going to be the risk where Glenn Powell starts to overstay his welcome, like Chris Hemsworth and stuff? But they made a good point that he's spreading himself out. So there's loads of film. They ran through all the films that he's got coming up and that he's been in. And there doesn't seem to be, there's not a huge overlap in audiences, which way you take someone like Chris Hemsworth, and there's been a big audience overlap, I think.
Yeah, but I think as long as the stuff is good and he's good in it, I think that's fine. Because like Hemsy hasn't really outstayed his welcome, because he does the Thor things and they're usually, people are happy with those, and then he does like a few other things. I mean, he's had a little, for me personally, he's had a definite bump with his Furiosa role, so I'm like more interested to see him in other things now than just Thor. It just depends what you do with it, isn't it? Like we used to let people be in fucking everything, like be Michael Douglas and just be in 1,000 films in the 90s, 80s and 90s, and it was fine. But yeah, it just depends what you do with it, I guess. I want to see him in more. I want to see all the things that he's currently slated to be in, so it doesn't bother me.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's all about the casting, and there is a laziness sometimes that you get in casting, and I think sometimes we get drawn into it with posters as well. When we're trying to find artists to work on posters, you kind of go, oh, we'll go to that guy because we know that's going to be solid. We know he's going to do it. But sometimes
he does this specific thing, like he can paint these monsters or whatever, and then it's like, oh, actually, you maybe speak to the person, and they're like, oh, I actually really want to do portrait of a pretty lady or something. Like, I don't know. And we forget actors are just artists, really. Like, yeah, they were the nerdy theater kids. Like, you got and then they become cool and famous, but they just want to do characters. Like, look at Robert Downey Jr. He's like, I just wanted to play a different character. Freaking Doctor Doom.
We can cover that. I mean, that's a seamless segue into that.
Yeah, go on. We'll just talk about it now.
So what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, we've had San Diego Comic-Con over the weekend or whatever. And, as with all good Comic-Cons, most of the news is about movies. So they've had the return to Hall H big panel for Marvel, Kevin Feige, all that sort of stuff. And it was like, I really enjoy them announcing new stuff and sort of saying what they're going to do and all that, because I love the Marvel stuff. We're in a dip, but like, it's even the worst Marvel movies most of them are still good. So just calm down. So I still look forward to them all, and I thought it was very interesting when I was clicking along and they're like, we're only talking about 3 films, and I was like, okay, so we're not doing the big panel. Okay, just temper your expectations, kind of thing. And then they walked through Thunderbolts, Captain America, and then Fantastic Four. The first 2, great. They both look good. I'm sure they'll be pretty good. Then we get to Fantastic Four, which is very interesting. I don't know if you've seen. Did you see any of the test footage that leaked?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like the retro.
Cool.
Are we going to kind of? I guess if you want to know nothing about Fantastic Four, maybe if you want to know,
if you don't want to know that the Fantastic Four are in Fantastic Four, then skip this next 5 minutes. But they showed that it's a very retro futuristic thing. It's out there. They've already announced that it's in an alternate timeline of its own and all this sort of stuff, which is not that important to me. I think it looks visually interesting. I think it looks like it's going to be designed well. Sometimes that retro futuristic stuff can be a bit hokey. This looks interesting, I think. And then just to the bamboozlement of the internet as a whole, at the end, they had Robert Downey Jr. come out and announce that he was playing Doctor Doom in Avengers 5 Doomsday, which obviously have now scrapped the Kang situation that was wrapped up in Loki and Ant-Man. That's gone. We're doing Doctor Doom, which is great. Doctor Doom's cool. Robert Downey Jr. is pretty cool. Good actor. I hate it, and I love it, and I hate it. And I love it, and I hate it. Yeah. It just depends what they do, really. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I oscillate. Like, part of me is like, I wish they cast somebody else. Like, Matt wanted John Hamm. I think John Hamm would have been a good shout. But then also, with Robert Downey Jr., you're going to get an over-the-top performance that's kind of pitch perfect, and he can kind of do villainous quite well. Well, very well. He can do villainous very well. You kind of you go back to films like U.S. Marshals, where he's playing, crooked cops and people.
Well, his Oppenheimer stuff, right, as well.
Yeah, exactly. So had he not been Iron Man, right? Perfect, amazing, like inspired casting. Now, to me, I think there's got to be a storytelling element to this. So that's where I'm kind of reserving judgment. Part of me wishes they'd got somebody else. Part of me wishes they'd got someone else in to do it. I actually think probably Pedro Pascal would have been a better Doctor Doom, getting somebody else in to do. But I don't know. But then show me somewhere in Marvel where they've got casting wrong.
Very true.
I can't think of anywhere where they have. Even when people have said, "Oh no, they're not right for this part," the proof has been, actually no, they're perfect. Like, so yeah, there's going to be, but I think for this to pay off, there's got to be a storytelling element to it. Now, in the past, there's been where Doctor Doom's been a variant of Iron Man, Iron Man's been a variant of Doctor Doom, and there's all sorts of stuff they can pull from. We know it's an alternative universe. We know we're heading towards Secret Wars. I think there's a conflict in itself that's going to be, if they're going to start pulling back your Chris Evans as Captain America and things, it's going to create quite an interesting central dilemma, especially if they keep the core Stark dead. Then it's going to create a bit of an interesting conflict, really. So I don't know. I reserve judgment.
Yeah, we just don't know. We don't know much about it. That's the thing. I don't hate anything until I've seen the film, and then even then, it's like, okay, it's fine. I think this has to have been done for a reason. The Russo brothers are coming back to direct the two Avengers films too.
Which is return, isn't it? Really,
that's a big deal, because they all said we're not doing this, and then everything's obviously been reshuffled to the nth degree. My worry is that there's a loss of confidence there, both from the audience but from within Marvel itself, and that they're just like, look, that all worked before. We've just got to get people on our side, and we've just got to do it all again. And that to me is the wrong thing to do. But they all work well together. They made incredible films. And I think they could do it again. I think if they've got a definite through line here with Fantastic Four, what's ostensibly a Doctor Doom film leading into Secret Wars, I think that's a pretty cool thing to do. And as long as, like, where I've come around on this, which it's been this way since, I don't know, phase 2, really, that these are no longer, no matter what names they want to use for the films, they were never really adaptations of the comics, right?
No.
It's a little bit like The Walking Dead. It started as exactly the same, and they changed like one or two things in season 1, which then by season 10, I don't know what they were doing, rocket packs and fucking no one's alive that should be, but like there's all. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the butterfly effect, right? So the MCU stuff is its own beast. It's no longer adapting anything or really pulling that much from anything else. It's just the natural. It is comics. It's its own big story now. Very convoluted. A lot of shit. Artists have changed. They've been pulled off this book or that book mid run, and all that sort of shit that happens. It just happened in films now. So whatever this is, it's its own thing, and it could be pretty cool if there's a little bit of a. We know, like me and you know, we're comics boys. Would know the vagaries of Secret Wars and Doctor Doom, how he relates to the Fantastic Four and Iron Man, and when they connect all that shit together. So there could be some pretty sick shit. I wish they hadn't have told us. That's maybe the biggest thing I would have changed. Could you imagine at the end of Fantastic Four if there's a stinger where it's fucking Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man? The world would have lost their goddamn minds. But
100%.
I get it.
Do you think so? I agree with you there. I think it would have been much better and much cooler. The whole reveal would have been like, you've got Reed turning around, go, "What do you think, Victor?" And he turns around, and it's kind of old mate Robert Downey. But
I wouldn't be surprised if we never see if it is really just Robert Downey Jr. playing Victor Von Doom. There is no multiversal weirdness. I wouldn't be surprised if we'd never see him. Like if we see the masks off and he's just like full makeup, whatever, and they just play it like he's just. But I don't believe that will happen. But that's that. I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, because because it's a character that's going to be for the bulk of it behind a mask, isn't it?
That's the idea. Yeah.
But then they kind of did that with. I mean, he's used to that with Iron Man, I guess, isn't he?
He's got they always had the HUD, right? The shot of his face in the dark.
Yeah, the kind of third person thing, that was really cool. But I think I've been kind of thinking about why have they revealed this now? Why have they done this now? And I think going right back to I was very lucky. So I was in Hall H when they announced the Iron Man 2 cast.
Wow.
And when they first showed, so I've only ever been to San Diego Comic-Con once. And it was when it was the summer before Iron Man 2 was coming out, and they had all of that, and it was
electric.
All that stuff back then is what built the hype train for the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're kind of just going back to the well and thinking that actually, look, we need to get people engaged in these films that are coming out before then. So in order to get people's bums on seats for Thunderbolts, Brave New World, I think Daredevil and Wolverine. Daredevil, I keep calling it Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that's done all right on its own.
But if you look at what you're saying, it has been proven by Daredevil and fucking hell. Now I'm doing it. Deadpool and Wolverine. Those boys have been on hyping that movie before they shot a frame of it. That they've been talking about this for like 5 years, making jokes about it. There's jokes about it in Deadpool 1.
Yeah,
there's jokes about him teaming up with Hugh Jackman. So those guys, they've done the legwork. They've been to every goddamn country on this promo tour. Like, there's a reason more than just the actual film and those characters being in that film that film has been a massive success.
Yeah,
it's just all, like you're saying, all the hype, the build up, everything around it. That fact that people know about it helps.
It's just it's just a perfect storm in itself as well, isn't it? Right, because you've got Ryan Reynolds, who seems to be one of the most business savvy guys in the industry. Machine. Yeah, but also seems like a genuinely decent dude as well. I think that Welcome to Wrexham thing has really helped it. We watched that. I have no interest in football whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And I watched it more because I like Ryan Reynolds, new Ryan Reynolds, but I'm a big It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan. So it was a big swing for the Rob McElhenney thing. He comes across as they all come across as decent dudes. And I know it's framed like that. And I know it's kind of a front and everything. But then you've got the same with Hugh Jackman. You know, Hugh Jackman's had this 24-year career as Wolverine, where even when he's made possibly the worst superhero film ever made in some people's eyes, he's still regarded as a darling and kind of still regarded as the kind of the only person that should ever be allowed near it. So to carry through good film with X-Men, amazing film with X-Men 2, few really bad films, and then kind of come out of it on top. It says a lot for how people buy into people, I think, as well as
100%.
thing. But going back to the relevance to that, to the kind of Robert Downey Jr. thing, Robert Downey Jr. may have had more of a checkered past than Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, but he's kind of come on top, he's owned it, and he kind of does a lot of these things, and he's got charisma, but he kind of... So I think they seem to be putting a lot of the weight on those three guys' shoulders in order to carry through this stage to get us to Doomsday, to get us to Civil War, to Secret Wars. But even in itself, those films look great. Like the Thunderbolts, what I've seen looks really good. Brave New World looks phenomenal.
That trailer's really good.
And my interest was high for Fantastic Four. It's now really, like, you've got Matt Shackman, again, the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia link, but because he did a lot of those, directed a lot of those episodes and wrote them.
Did you do WandaVision, or did you do
yeah, I did WandaVision.
The Cap show? Yeah, WandaVision, which is still the best show they've done. Yeah.
Now, the one downside is, I don't know about you, First Steps, what do you think to that? I was like, interesting.
Who cares at this point? I mean, they just have to, it's no Axel F. It doesn't annoy me as much as that. I think it's a little odd, but it's also like we're saying it's sort of retro. We're saying it's not the ones you maybe half remember, because you remember this has had 2 goes already.
True, they can't.
So they're doing the Transformers 1 thing, like we're starting again. First Steps. I don't really care at this point. It's just like, just make it good, and the cast they've got is like seriously good. Reed looks old as fuck compared to the rest, but that's another story.
Yeah.
It's good. I just hope it doesn't come off as creepy old man with Sue. That's all. That's my only.
Yeah.
That's literally my only worry about it, is it just looks a little odd. But then again, maybe they don't push that angle as much. You know, maybe they're just
the romance thing.
Yeah, we don't need it. We don't need that shit.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It just looks really cool, and we're back. And anyone that's not on board, fuck off. I want to watch these things. It's going to be fun. Speaking of, I have seen Deadpool and Wolverine. They were both there, oddly enough.
And Daredevil.
Yeah. Well, almost. But, no spoilers. No spoilers.
No.
Cool movie, man. Pretty cool movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of movie. Like, it's not that it doesn't feel long. It actually feels quite short. It's just very much like that Deadpool, wear you down. There's a lot happening. It's all happening. I would say it's very fun. I don't know if it's very, very good, but I think it is good. It's a lot, which is what you kind of want. I think it gets away with being messy because they just commit so hard to every single bit of it.
Right.
And to be honest, like, Hugh Jackman, he's an actor, man. That guy. We know he's an actor. We know he's a real actor, but in this, he is acting the shit out of it. And it's everything else around it, all the silly stuff. It's one of those ones where I can't say much about it without spoiling. Like, every scene has a spoiler in it, just about. Ryan Reynolds is obviously just born to play this character in the same way that Downey Jr. was born to be Tony Stark. He just is Deadpool as much. And the criticism is like, oh, yeah, but he's annoying and the jokes don't always land. And I'm like, that's the point. That's the character. He cannot stop. Like, he's got mental issues he has to constantly be bringing things down by making stupid jokes. And obviously that goes quite well when you have a grumpy old man, Wolverine, that's stuck to him for a whole bunch of it. Old mate, what's his name? from Succession, Tom Wambsgans. Yeah, amazing. He's great. The chick that plays the main villain is great. Everyone in it's just really. It's a little bit like the Twister thing. I think it's pulled through by the cast and their interactions and just the fun of seeing these characters like walk around in a yellow and red outfit and annoy each other. Like that's what works about it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so I haven't seen it yet. I'm going tomorrow.
No.
I've managed to stay, surprisingly, touch wood, because I don't go on social media as much anymore.
There is stuff everywhere, dude. Like now that I've seen it, like I've stopped really caring and just like literally 2 scrolls on Twitter, half of it is just shots from inside the theater of stuff that's in the movie.
Really? Well, it's kind of good. These kind of films are good for getting people off of social media because I've not touched it because I'm terrified to find something.
I wasn't spoiled at all on anything.
Yeah, and it's not because you kind of want to. I remember going in to see Force Awakens. I already knew that Han Solo was going to die. And I saw it opening night, right?
What?
And I saw it midnight opening. My stepmom, I went round the night before. She was like, "Oh yeah, well the Daily Mail have reported that Han Solo gets killed." I'm like, honestly, there would have been a murder. There would have been a murder. I've never. I think that's really. I think there was words. There was choice words.
Threw it through a window.
Because it's just that attitude spoiling somebody's fun deliberately. You know, when it's deliberately spoiling somebody's fun. Yeah, I don't like that. That's not.
I understand
cool.
getting excited about something and like wanting to. A lot of the internet, I think people think they're yelling into a void, but it's like you're not.
Oh man,
you're not helping.
I followed a few weeks ago, so I unfollowed like Nerdist, Collider, quite a few because I can't remember what film it was, but they just posted. In the headline, no, it wasn't a film. No, it was The Boys. It was the season finale of The Boys.
Oh.
They just posted a picture of what happens. I'm like,
oh, really?
So you couldn't not even a warning or anything like that. I'm like, that's not cool because there's people, and they're like, well, it's been 2 days. It's like, oh, right, okay. So everybody's supposed to watch an entire series at the same time as you. But then it's doing the job, isn't it? Because people are commenting, even though they're giving them jip. They're commenting, it gets up in the algorithm, they're selling ad space. Whatever.
I've got it. Anyway. I know what we do. We start spoiling everything, but then the first reply tweet is just like links to the new poster that we've released that has nothing to do with that thing. This is how we do it. It's like linked to GameBot pre-orders underneath the spoilers for The Boys. That's what we need to do.
That's what we need to do. Linking comments. Yeah,
outrage.
We've nailed the algorithm. What were we talking about? Oh yeah,
Deadpool.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Daredevil.
Matthew McFadden's always been an actor that I've kind of liked. He used to be in a program over here called Ghosts, Spooks, not Ghosts, which was like an MI5
spy one, right?
Yeah, he was really good in that. He was a Darcy at one point. There was a point where I think he was going to be like a big star, and he just kind of never quite tipped over. So he's kind of always had these bits. He was in, he was one of the Three Musketeers in that, what I class as the brilliant Three Musketeers film by the dude that did the Resident Evil films.
What the fuck?
It's
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah, he did a. He did a Three Musketeers film. It had.
Are we talking like 90s sort of stuff?
No, early 2000s.
Well, that's the 90s, isn't it? everything to me is like the 90s if it's before recent memory.
Yeah, Mia Jovovich was in it. Yeah, Three Musketeers, 2011.
Who were the other Musketeers?
So Logan Lerman was D'Artagnan.
Oh wow.
Matthew McFadden was Athos. Ray Stevenson was Pathos.
Oh, I remember Ray Stevenson doing one.
Yeah, Mia Jovovich was Milady.
This sounds fucking terrible, James.
Luke Evans was what a cast. Luke Evans was Aramis. Till Schweiger was in it. Orlando Bloom was in it.
Did this kill everyone's career that was in it?
Mads Mikkelsen was in it.
Wow,
Christopher Waltz was in it. Jesus Christ.
All right. Well, I guess I know what we're watching for next week's episode. Tell Matt. He's got to watch it on the plane. James Gordon was in it.
Yeah, apparently so. I
Wow,
quite liked that film. Anyway, why did we get on
sure?
That? Yeah.
After all that?
I remember there being a big blimp in it. My back is sweaty.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway, this Daredevil film.
Deadpool.
That's the one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it.
I can tell you right fucking now that Avengers 6 is Tobey Maguire. It's Deadpool, man. It's Wolverine. It's Michael Chiklis, maybe. It's do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's where we end up. I think everyone. That's not me being a genius or anything. That's pretty clearly where we're going.
Right.
That we're just that because they have to, right? It has to be. All of these universes have to end at the end of Secret Wars, and we need a nice clean break, and that has to be it. We'll see CG Hank McCoy running out with the Spectrum from the end of the Marvels. Like every single thing is just going to come out of a portal, and they're all going to fight. Yeah. And Dr. Doom will be there in a white outfit instead of a green one. We know what's happening. We know where we're going. It could be really, really cool. And it needs to absolutely be the last goddamn time that we see any of these people play these characters. It has to be the end.
Yeah.
It has to be, right? I'm not crazy.
You can have... No, I agree. You can have too much of a good thing and you're starting to overkill it then and outstay your welcome, aren't you?
You cannot do the story that ends where the idea is that the end of it, they're basically they're fighting to keep their universes alive, right? Their timelines and shit. That's the idea, right? You can't have that end and go back to like Daredevil's on the streets and he's fighting a group of robbers. Someone's trying to rob a handbag. It's going to be it's if you thought the end game come down was massive, imagine every character you've ever seen from every film ever, and then the come down from that. You just can't do it. It actually has to blink to white, and then it just says, like, I would literally say a Marvel universe will return instead of like saying a character. That's what I would do, and then I would take like 5 years off and just build a completely new thing, starting with an X-Men series where they're really young. That's what I would do.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
I do like that idea. That a Marvel universe will return. Good.
Something like that. Take it. Instead of black screen white text, I'll do white screen black text. Do that. Done.
You know what I'm hoping for?
Mm.
Dolph Lundgren Punisher, David Hasselhoff, and Nick Fury. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything. Anyone who's already seen Deadpool, anyone who's ever already seen Deadpool, don't tell James anything until tomorrow. After tomorrow.
No. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm taking my 15-year-old. It's a 15 over here. I'm taking my 15-year-old nephew. He's just literally turned 15. Love it. Yeah. It's just such a Deadpool movie. It really is, and that's what you want.
Hugh getting on board. It's great.
Awesome. So
it's not great. It's not stars? Great. It's 10 stars. I'll tell you what it was, right? That I sat down and the fanfare started for the MCU fanfare, and I was the Marvel Studios one, and I was like, oh man, like I just had a smile on my face. I was like, yeah, because how long has it been? We haven't really. The last one we saw was it the Marvels? Can't be.
I think
it was, wasn't it? So I was with you after Thought Bubble or whatever, or just before. Yeah. That's wild, isn't it? Like we haven't sat down and watched a Marvel film in a theater. So and like the hype was there as well. The theater was packed, which is pretty cool. That was cool too. I mean, it wasn't cool when I had to tell these guys behind us to shut the fuck up twice, 3 times during the film. But
really,
yeah. I've told you before, me and James agree on this.
We do.
The way we both go out is we get stabbed by telling the wrong person to shut the fuck up in a cinema.
100%.
I have to do it.
Yeah. Just there's no... I can't abide rudeness in any walk of life. Even if it involves me being rude to have to alert someone of their rudeness. It's just be compassionate about people around you, man. It's just James, not hard.
You want to really get ripped really get revved up by this guy. But he was on his phone, just having a conversation,
like talking. What a piece of shit.
So the first time I turned around and I was just like, gave him the old, one of these, right? And then I think that was the time when he was on his phone. I was just like, and then it kept going, and then I gave him the old, bro, shut the fuck up, seriously, for fuck's sake, like one of those. But I did it. It was like right in a quiet thing, so like then you get the whole. Everyone
else,
shuffling around, going, "What's going on here? Someone's going to knock someone's head off." I think I did it politely while also swearing at him profusely. And then it didn't happen anymore. That's all it took.
Yeah.
He could have not got that. He could have taken the strong eyebrows.
Yeah.
And just realized what he was, but he wanted to push it.
Yeah. I'm with you. There's got to be a polite one first, whether that's just a look or whether that's a, excuse me, mate, like, do you mind knocking it off? Yeah. And then it's a, shut the fuck up. And then it's a, if they're still not, then if you're alive or they're still carrying on,
throw a Coke.
Yeah, storming out. Well, on a similar theme, so we went paintballing last weekend for my nephew's 15th birthday. So there was me knocking on 40, load of 15-year-old kids.
Did you get destroyed?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And they're all professional Call of Duty players as well.
Oh, well, they're all little dweebs,
Fortnite,
really. But
whatever.
Still, when there's enough of them. Anyway, there were strangers there as well. And there was this, I was a bit apprehensive about going, I shouldn't go paintballing because of my head. Nat was a little bit worried because obviously I've got no skull.
Well, it's more like it's less so like getting shot, I think, because you got the gear. But like, I remember it was 10 years since I did it, and that's not really my bag. But like I did it for a similar, like for an event or whatever, and it was like I feel like the biggest danger was like tripping over something and fucking like just doing your Achilles or something.
My thighs have been in bits.
Yeah.
So I had this. So
you're squatting, right?
Because I had that paintballing thing. Then I've been at a golf tournament, and I said to my mate James after the golf tournament, I'm like, I just hurt all over. I hurt. Every part of my body hurts. But what happened was the very, very, very first game. I was a little bit apprehensive. They give you like a safety briefing, right? Don't blind fire and don't shoot people point blank, right? And whatever you do, don't shoot somebody in the head. First game, this girl manages to sneak up on me somehow. She shoots me point blank in the back of the head, like twice. So I stood up, lost my absolute shit at her, and because we're I just want me and my brother-in-law, we upgraded to these automatic things. Point blank, I unloaded about 100 bullets into her point blank while screaming in her face. And then I stormed off to the marshal.
This is an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah, she was about 15, 16. So the marshal was like, oh, no, that's not cool. I'll go and have a word. And he comes back and he says, I've had a word. She's not going to do it again. She says you did this, though. I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, should we call it even? I'm like, yeah, let's call it even. And I did go over in the break. I went over to their group and I said, look, I got a bit angry because, you shouldn't be doing that, but I shouldn't have acted in the way I did. So I do apologize. And a boyfriend got all up and he's like, yeah, well, if you do it again, you'll have me to deal with. I'm like, mate, I'm not a fighter and I'm not pretty built, but I'm pretty sure I could, and you're not going to get anywhere. But anyway, so that was interesting. So yeah, I need to control my temper a little bit, I think, in scenarios like that.
James.
But it's just that rudeness, isn't it? It's like, it's not all that just, I don't know, whatever. But I shouldn't have acted in the way that I acted. So yeah.
Let's call it even. Call it even.
Call it even.
We're all
Anyway,
very
should we?
tough.
There's a few other little bits of San Diego bits and bobs that I wanted to cover.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was all the Marvel stuff, which was cool. I think this year more than anything, I noticed quite a lot of like toy reveals as well. They seem to go hard on like the Mezcos and things. I don't know. Did you spot anything over the weekend that caught your eye?
There was an awful lot of like Transformers stuff. Most of it I don't give a shit about. No, I didn't really. I hadn't really seen a lot of it, to be honest. Yeah. So what was on? What popped up for you then? Remind me what happened.
So the big thing for me was there was so Mondo seemed to have a huge presence, and I think there's been a bit of the whole attitude around Mondo at the minute is quite interesting, because obviously with what happened when Funko bought it out, and then the creative team that we knew and loved moved on. They've got Mutant now,
which 75% of people that buy Mondo things don't know anything about. They just think it's the same thing.
This seems to be the case, because like online, you know, a lot of the comments seem to very much be, you know, Mondo are carrying on this, that, and the other, and doing all these great things. And they've announced this Real Ghostbusters line, which I don't know. It's kind of on paper for me. We're not a negative podcast, so we're not going to rip them apart and things along those lines, do anything like that, dive into stuff. But I don't know. To me, it just seems like they just seem a bit weird to me, like a bit odd. And the only reason I bring it up is obviously I'm a big Real Ghostbusters fan, and the Real Ghostbusters I think is such an unmined opportunity. But the prices on those things for like a 6-inch figure, it's $100 for a 6-inch figure, or for the 2-packs where they come with.
It's a ghost with each one, right?
Yeah, or two, like a little ghost. So I think Venkman comes with Slimer, and comes with the Boogeyman, and then you've got Egon comes with I can't remember what the ghost's called. It's like a little blue ghost that's in the intro crawl of the comic, and then calls with Samhain. Those 2-packs are $200. That's mental.
So that's $300. Yeah, that's a lot. There's 6 inches.
Yeah,
that's wild. Yeah. So that's your kind of, because there's the Super 7 line. What do they call theirs? Is it Ultimates? Where they have is that line where they're $100?
Yeah, the Ultimates line.
$100 each here. So I'd say that's what, I don't know.
Aren't these Super 7 Ultimates 12 inches?
No, I don't think so. They might be like 7 or something. They kind of they are chunky. Because they have the 3.5 reaction, and then they have the Ultimates, right? That's all Super 7, which is, am I crazy? Is that Funko too? Did they buy them?
Super 7.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they are.
They might be. They were independent, weren't they?
They were Super 7. It's like Loungefly, everything. They eventually maybe I might be crazy on that one.
But it's like
they might have just manufactured the reaction figures or something like that. But anyway, I think that line was really cool, and it seems to be it's like sitting in the same vein as these Ghostbusters one. But I just always thought they were too expensive for what they are. I've never got any of them. And this is the same. This is the same again. That like the Mondo stuff. Again, I know that like they're a premium company, and when I eventually make a 12-inch figure, I hope this doesn't bite me in the asshole. But like, they're just too much. Like the Rogue, the X-Men animated series Rogue is more or on par with Hot Toys figures, at least over here. And I'm just like, I'm sorry that I've seen those, and that for me personally, the quality is not there to justify that. It's not what I'm looking for at that price point. Like,
look at this, right?
He's going back there. He's got a big Batman.
So this is the Mondo Batman the Animated Series, right?
Oh, right, okay.
So doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel the best quality.
Well, they use that matte. It's the matte. I know paint should be matte, but it's very. The figures that I've had of theirs, it's very chunkily applied, I would say.
and it's scuffed so easy. But look at this. So you've got the crotch stand, right?
Yes, the grabber.
The grabber.
Which I hate. I don't use them. I just free ball it.
Look at that.
So what's that done?
It's completely creased the plastic.
Oh.
Pushed
They've
that
used
in
like
and
a
dented it.
softer kind of
Yeah.
jobby there. Just free ball
But
it, James. It's not going to come off your shelf.
No. Actually, it's such a shame. But talking about Batman animated series on the other end of the spectrum, Mezco earlier this year, they announced kind of...
Oh, yeah, they look good.
Yeah, like the Batman and the animated series from 1992. So they seem to have taken similar designs. They're almost exactly the same design-wise, but just added 6 points to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they look wicked. And then at San Diego, they announced the next wave of those. But what I really admire about that is that they're leaning into the daft stuff that they did in that line. So they've got Skydiver Batman is one of them as well. So it's not just your bog standard figures and things like that. So that should be quite fun.
Are you getting the 5 points?
Yeah.
The first ones?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at them now because I remember them at the time, but I was kind of like, oh, do I need stuff? I don't need stuff. So what is it? It's Batman, Robin, Catwoman, Joker, and the Batmobile, right?
Yeah.
And you in for those? 125. Yeah. That's pretty good.
It was the price on those.
Ship soon too. Maybe I'll get
August. I think it cost me like 150 quid for the set.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It was less than. I was like, this can't be right. Because it's the kind of Batmobile was about that big, and then you've got the 6-inch-ish figures. So I was like, that's a pretty good price. So if you work, that's like 15 quid a figure, and then 60 quid for the car. So there's that. But I don't know. I don't want to fall into this trap of thinking, why aren't they making toys specifically for me? But I do think a lot of these designer toy brands are probably not doing themselves the service by not having them so expensive. But you and I both know more than anything, especially when it's licensed stuff, how much it costs to produce these things. And the other thing to consider that folks overlook is shipping from China. So to ship a container from China now, I think is about 15 grand or something.
James, don't tell me that, please. We were just talking about shipping things from China. I don't want to think about that.
Shipping's free. It doesn't matter. It doesn't calculate into the price. Yeah, it should be fine.
I'd put this is my honey coupons, right? Is that?
Yeah. Anyway, is there anything? That's my San Diego wrap up. I would like to go. Is it somewhere you'd like to go, or do you think it'd be a bit too much?
Oh, I mean, it's one of those things. Like if there was any reason to go, like if we cooked something up, we were putting something out there or whatever, I'm there, right? Like, you know me, I'm down to clown. I like the adventure. I like seeing what's going on. I've never been, but at this point, I can't imagine that happening really. And it doesn't seem like it's one where you actually go on the floor. Like people just go and like it's gross that they just sit there waiting for one panel for 2 days. And then like, what's the point of that? I would actually like to walk the floor and just like see things and shoot the shit. And like, I don't give a fuck about buying anything because if you really want something these days, you don't have to line up and wait for it. That's so stupid to me. I wouldn't take $1. I'd just go.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, I know what you mean. The floor for me at conventions is the thing that I enjoy the most. Not even necessarily to buy anything. It's just wandering and it's like that whole toy shop experience as a kid, isn't it? But the year I went I think it was one of really early on in mine and Nat's relationship, so it'd be 14 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah, Iron Man 2. I got to meet Jim Lee didn't have a queue, and he was just sat there sketching. Got to have a chit chat with him.
You know what's fucked? It's probably still the same. It's probably still the same because they're all just hanging around the movies and stuff, and you can just walk through the comic part and just
jock and all that kind of stuff. But what was interesting to me was so Hall H. So I was in that Hall H panel. I just walked in. You know, like.
What?
And now, what I would say is that I later learned there was a 3-hour queue, but I didn't realize this, and nobody just stopped me. I just walked in. I was just like walked straight in, because Anyway, that was that. But it's mad. I went to the year I turned 21. I went to New York Comic Con and I met Stan Lee and
cool.
John Romita Senior. They were like. They just had tiny panels because they'd not got back into that thing, and afterwards, you just walked up and shook hands with them and said hello.
That's sick.
It's mad. But I don't know.
See, that's what I would appreciate more is like that's a moment that you're not going to. That's what Comic-Con's for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like obviously we're big movie guys. Like I love movies. But I don't know. MovieCon, you know, they've got their own things. It is cool that there's this big. I could take it both ways. Like I do like the fact that there's this big kind of Hall H panels, and they're very exciting, and people get just really razzed up for them and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I think the smaller moments are more where it's at, maybe for me, especially now.
Yeah, there is those little interactions, isn't it? It's stuff that sits in your head. Like I was at This Will Mean Nothing to You, and most people listening, but I was in Starbucks in Worksop where I live a couple of weeks ago. No one else in there apart from Lee Westwood, who was at one point the world's #1 golfer.
Oh, okay.
And because he's from Worksop and I think he lives in Florida or somewhere now. But I was like, oh, and I just said hello to him, and then he started chatting back, and he was like, oh, how's your day going, what you been up to, blah blah blah. So he just wanted a chat. I didn't ask him for a photo, I didn't do any of that. Ask him for a sign. And it's like, it was just a nice conversation. How's your day, what you been up to, where you going, blah blah blah. And that was it. And it's like,
did you say like, oh, I loved when you hit that ball that time or anything? Did he know that you were a golf boy, or did he just think you were just some real weird guy?
I had a golf sweater on because I'd literally because I'd been so like I think but I didn't over egg it, and then we started talking about podcasts because he'd just been on a podcast that I listened to and was talking about that. So he obviously knew I knew who he was, but it wasn't hammering it home. But the person that taught me to do that, like, because I used to be a bit geeky with things and kind of maybe go a little bit overboard. Matt, whenever we started going to these cons and Matt was invited to meet these people and do these things, he always played it super cool with these folks. I'm talking about him like his dad. He plays it super cool with these folks. Don't worry, folks. Matt's fine. And it's like, I was like, but then he got more out of it. Like when we met Taika Waititi, it was kind of a conversation. It was nice. And it's like, oh, okay, treat people like people and you probably have a much better time of it.
Well, that's it. People are people. Like that was the story of the Guardians premiere. Do you both go? You went as well, right?
No, no.
Which one was it that you both went to?
We went to.
It must have been Thor.
Guardians 2, Captain Marvel, Avengers.
Well, whatever it was, I remember him saying like, we had cheese toasties. Then we just went down there, and then we were with like Taika or whatever. Like he was sort of saying it was like a bizarre thing. Yeah.
Oh, that was the New York Comic Con thing. Yeah, me and Matt were in a pub, and we were just sat in a pub, and his Taika's manager rang Matt and said, Taika wants to meet you. Can you meet us down this weird side alley in about 10 minutes?
That's
like,
cool.
Okay.
That's sick.
And then as it was going up, like he said, oh, there's me and a couple of guys on the panel are going for beers afterwards. Do you want to join us? And Matt was like, nah.
That's so annoying.
But it was like, but then, who was it? Simon Kinsberg, not Matt Reeves, Cloverfield dude. It might be.
That is Matt Reeves.
Yeah, it was Simon Kinberg, Matt Reeves, and Taika Waititi. Oh. I don't want to say that. So yeah,
that's a table, right?
Two of those three. No, I'm checking.
Which two? We'll never know. Well, yeah, it looks like we're going to leave it there for this week. That's been your episode, and I've been Florey, and that's been James, and we're off.